Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Miami. This is our first episode of our Hunter the Reckoning story entitled Day Shift. I'm super excited to get started and to share Hunter with you all. I've been waiting to scream about this for months and months now, so you're probably only going to hear about it from me for the next 12 months. That's all I'm going to talk about. But I'm so stoked to be here tonight with my incredible cast. We're going to talk a little bit about the World of Darkness in general and what you can kind of expect to see here. But first, let's meet everybody. Starting with Justus. Who are you and who are you playing tonight?
That's me. Hi, everybody. I am Justus, Stash Mandu on all the socials. And tonight I am playing Barry. He's a denizen of Miami.
That's a good place to start since we're in Miami. Briana, how about you?
It would help if I unmuted myself. Hello, everyone. I am Briana, but I go by Utahime on the social medias, Utahime Cosplay, and Briana DeCoster on Twitter. And I am playing Angelique Dubois, but she goes by Angel, and she is a club owner here in Miami.
Wonderful, wonderful. How about our newly critical rolled cast member, Luis? Who are you and who are you playing?
Hi, everybody. I am Luis Carazo, and I'm playing Professor Diego Dominguez, a University of Miami history professor who's very smart.
Spectacular. And last but not least, our famous resident in Miami. She's a little bit famous. Markeia, who are you and who are you playing tonight?
Hey, everyone. I'm Markeia McCarty. You can find me at Markeia McCarty, MarkeiaMcCarty, just everywhere across social media. And tonight I'm playing Cora Marana Springman, who she's not a resident of Miami, but she might as well be. And I am a luxury event and wedding planner. And apparently I've done pretty good for myself since my name seems to be out there and business is booming. So, I feel like everything in life is good and bright, and I don't see that changing in any way, shape, or form.
And that's where I come in. So my name is Diana DiMicco. I'm the storyteller for this particular story, also for the nightlife over here on Miami, on Play Renegade's channel, setting in Miami. Boy, words are going to be a challenge tonight, folks. This is going to be interesting. As with that particular chronicle, we are sitting in the world of darkness with this story. It is called the World of Darkness for a reason. Things are going to get dark. There's going to be graphic depictions of violence. There will be some situations that have the potential to make audience members queasy. If you need to step away, we encourage you to do that. Do what is safe for you. We, the cast, have discussed safety tools as a group. We have a chat open here so that if anyone here needs to step away for their own well-being, they are able to do so. It's a good tool for games. I highly encourage you to use it. But just so you, the audience, know this is the World of Darkness. We do expect it to get dark, even though there will probably be a few silly situations along the way. Hunter the Reckoning is a spectacular system. I am so psyched to show it to you guys for the first time. A lot of the mechanics are going to seem very, very familiar if you've ever played Vampire the Masquerade, but there are a lot of things that are very different. Periodically in this story, I will stop and explain what is happening in that context so that you guys know what you can expect when you get your Hunter the Reckoning rulebook and are able to play the game at home. Tonight, however, we're going to meet everybody. That's the best place to start a story, at the very beginning. So, without further ado, the city of Miami is a living, breathing thing. Its bright colors and sounds are overpowering in their vitality. But what happens here when the thriving masses finally lay down their heads to rest? There's a street festival happening a few blocks over. Its music and laughter are an odd juxtaposition to the heavy silence blanketing every surface in the Blue Bayou tonight. This venue, a 5-star Yelp reviewed club, sits in an enviable piece of real estate right along the Miami Strip. It usually boasts a line out the door, but tonight it's closed to the public for a private memorial service. Angel, you're the owner of the Blue Bayou. What would we see as we stepped through its doors and across the threshold?
So Blue Bayou is known as a speakeasy type club or lounge. The outside of the establishment actually looks like any old basic older warehouse in Miami. Plain gray concrete, probably dimly lit around this time. There is a large metal door that's usually roped off with red velvet stanchions, but right now, Marcos, who is the head of security for the Bayou, is kind of just making sure that people are able to go in and out who are part of this service. For anyone who enters, basically, immediately when they enter through this hallway, it almost resembles like a swamp in a bayou. There's like fake cypress trees that seem to cave inward and moss that covers the walls. Usually there's little lights that almost resemble like fireflies in a swamp area that would kind of direct people directly to a cream colored door with a golden handle that says Laissez le bon temps rouler. But now it's open so that way people can flow in and out easily for the event. And what you would see immediately when you enter through that cream door, there's a beautiful long mahogany looking bar. It gives off this room a very high-end jazz bar that you would see in New Orleans. There's a black piano where there's a musician who's playing softer jazz music to kind of try to lighten up the somberness of the room. If someone were to enter even further into the main larger area of the bayou, there's actually it opens up and it looks almost like you got whisked away to the French Quarters. The way that it has the metal beams that kind of resemble that of the same that are found in the French Quarter. There's a granite fountain kind of in the center area that lights up different colors of blue and purple and gold. And then there's also a bar that's further back. On the other side, the left side, there's like a dance floor with a DJ booth, but that's basically kind of shut down because obviously there's not going to be much dancing for this occasion. But if someone were to go further to the left near the bar area, there is a little exit area to go to the outer patio, which kind of some people have probably congregated to get some fresh air. It looks like as if you kind of stepped into someone's, like if it's someone's southern porch. It's very southern and welcoming as far as the just chic patio furniture and the lights that kind of light the outdoor area, especially at nighttime. There's like a little fountain and some flowers. It's very quiet and it's like the chill zone compared to usually the livelier parts of the bayou. If you were to go back inside, there is another area to the right that basically almost resembles somewhat of like if anyone has been to the French Quarter and there is a cult or like voodoo stores. It's kind of like a whole section that is usually popular with the social media influencers in the area. They love taking photos, especially of that specific area. But again, everyone else is pretty much kind of more in the quieter lounge, more piano bar area, I think. And there's more dining, like little dining areas where Angel at the moment is kind of talking to her front of house, Jade, to try to get different appetizers and hors d'oeuvres out to everyone during this time.
Wonderful. That sounds like a spectacular club. I would love to go there. And you had some help putting together this particular soiree, even though the Blue Bayou is a destination in and of itself. Core, you were the one who put together this event. What would you have changed about this environment, or what would you have added to it specifically for the memorial you're putting together?
Well, specifically, because Isaac Meadows was very much an eccentric man, very much so, that would have been the flavor of the occasion, so to speak. There are a number of specialized cocktails that we had made specifically that were based off of the different eras of Isaac's life during his sabbatical, where he traveled throughout the Mediterranean. So there's a number of refreshing beverages like that. And of course, there's the darker assortment of beverages, since he tended near the end of his life to go more into things that go bump into the night. Definitely have more of a mystical element with that, with a series of cocktails that can be lit aflame and then also have actual smoke coming out of them. And of course, for the musical arrangements, everything's going to be very low key. And we want people from different walks of Isaac's life to be able to commune with each other, but not in a mournful way. This is about celebrating one of the most interesting people that I've had the pleasure of not ever really meeting posthumously. So in that context, we do have a number of selections from his readings and from his lectures that are in different corners of the club that you can read and that you can really, really experience what the type of person that Isaac Meadows was. Whether or not you believe that there are vampires and ghoulies that exist in the night, which, you know, I do not, but I don't believe that anybody else, if they choose to believe such things, they should, you know, be poo-pooed off, basically. So there's a number of things like that. And of course, an assortment of costumes to really get into the occasion. Tastefully, naturally, of course.
Yeah.
Jade is actually upset that she had to actually wear one of those costumes. So
which one?
I want Core to explain what she put Jade into.
Well, because we wanted to somewhat differentiate people that are working the event along with those that knew Isaac, you know, personally, then, you know, just to add a little fun to the occasion. It's just kind of like, well, you know how everybody says, oh, stuffed shirt professors. So you're dressed up as in kind of professors, but grandly with like monocles and huge ascots. It's quite fun. And it's an icebreaker.
I love it. I love it. I can think of, you know, tons of professors that absolutely dress that way. We'll meet one here in a little while. This event you two have put together is sensational. Honestly, it's a little bit sad that so much effort was put into a funeral for a man who didn't have many connections. Yes, people have filtered through, but no one really seemed to know Isaac very well. He was very much distant with his communications, even with his colleagues, people he'd worked with for years. And as the evening started slowing down and people started going home, you know, the musician eventually, their hands got the better of them. They just needed a break. And, you know, there were only a handful of people left. So kind boss that you are, Angel, you sent your musician home, the pianist, in order to do some recovery for the nights when you really need him to hammer on those ivories. You know, it's now approximately 1:30 in the morning. There are only 6 of you left in the space. And Marcos is holding open the door for Jade and kind of turns around to give a wave to you, Angel, as he steps out of the building. Angel, right now you're behind the bar. The only other employee here is your busboy, Perry, who's picking up glasses and cleaning up tables as people leave the establishment. What does Angel look like?
Angel has very striking features. She is mixed Creole and Mexican, so she has really beautiful Miami sun-kissed tan skin. She has hazel eyes and honey brown, really curly hair. She stands about 5'8". She's slim, but she still is pretty curvy. She's wearing a designer royal blue pantsuit, which of course doesn't necessarily fit the somber, like probably what everyone else is wearing as far as black suits and whatnot. But she is going to constantly try to reflect the vibrancy of New Orleans, kind of going off of her establishment. With her suit, she has like a silver low-cut tank, matching silver colored strap Manolo heels, because she's always designer head to toe. On her neck, she has a signature gold necklace that spells angel in cursive letters. She's always known for having her nails perfectly manicured, and she usually, when people walk past her, they usually smell a very distinct smell, and that's her favorite perfume, Chanel No. 5.
Of course.
Of course.
You have to project the success that you carry through your business.
Yes. In Miami, darling.
I mean, that's probably why you get along so well with Core. Core, the evening is starting to slow down, and by every measure, you've put together a very successful event here. What would you be doing? What would Core be doing at this point in the evening? What would we see her doing? You're muted, dear.
Had to have at least one.
Yep, we got it out of the way early.
Well, at this point in the night, Core she's very good about reading the room with everything and seeing that she isn't really needed right here. She'd probably end up heading over to the more occult section where she had those selections of Isaac's readings up. And because she read through, let's say not all, but for her, a great deal amount of research. That doesn't say a lot, y'all. She's not a huge reader, let's say. But there were a lot of favorite selections and things that really stuck out to her. So she'd grab one of the darker cocktails, make sure that she still had her earpiece in case anybody needed her. And she would head over there to sip that while looking over the more probably macabre of the readings that were selected. And do you want me to describe her?
Yes, please. Tell me what Core looks like.
She is 5'9", probably a couple of over that. Has my skin tone, and she's what you would call a business casual pastel goth. Is basically her aesthetic. So she's wearing a tailored men's cut, dark purple two-piece suit with a lavender silk top underneath. Along with that, a spiky black, very prominent neck collar, and has a holographic bob. It's kind of her signature thing for right now, but she's very much known for changing her hair, but it's always that business casual pastel goth does stay. And that's actually part of her logo for her company. So people know that it's her and not anybody else. So yeah, and she would be, she's muscular, but you can't really tell with what she's wearing. But she's constantly smiling. She's very happy with life.
I love Core. Core's perfect in every way. And if anything hurts her, I'll die. So Core, as you're kind of looking through some of these lectures and some of the, we'll say, scientific periodicals that have been pulled from Isaac's records, you note that as the dates get closer and closer to present day, the information that Isaac is giving in these articles gets weirder and weirder and weirder. He's talking about the fountain of youth and what that actually means. He doesn't necessarily mention the word vampire, but he talks about like he talks about feeders. Like, it's a very strange selection of reading. And ultimately, as you kind of stand there and you skim them, you're like, oh, well, this was an odd choice. I hope people enjoyed it tonight. That was it's fine. I'm sure everyone liked it. It's great. But if you were to sit and read them all right now, they would be completely incomprehensible. And the one person who probably knows that better than anyone else is our resident professor, Professor Diego. You probably knew Isaac better than anyone else. What would you be doing at his memorial? Would you be socializing?
No, not at all. So Diego is also about 5'9", not muscular, slender, wearing a button down that's not been ironed, that's a little bit big on him. And you can see traces of some of what he's eaten spill onto his shirt, and he's completely oblivious to any of that. Where he would be is where Core is if Core wasn't there. So he's off in the distance watching Core go through the manuscripts and the publications and watching closely with interest, but then also can't help but get pulled into this wall of the occult. This is a sort of part of the bar that's there, and he's looking at it wondering, is this decorative? Is this a sign? What just with curiosity, looking at this wall of the occult, this area, and absolutely thinking that it's unnoticeable, but definitely looking in Core's direction, almost frothing at the mouth, wanting a turn to look through those manuscripts.
That sounds about right. That's what I expected from the professor. Professor, you would note you've already read a lot of these publications because you worked with Isaac. But also some of the things that he was working on were just intriguing to you. You're a history professor. You have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to things ancient and past, and some of his research overlapped with yours. You would take note on the occult wall of there's lots and lots of great nods to Creole superstition here. Whoever put together this space did it right.
It's very impressive.
And maybe soon that lady in the purple vest will put down that paper and you can read it because she won't be there anymore.
I'm waiting. And as I wait, I kind of sort of, without knowing it, shuffle a little bit closer, almost awkwardly, almost lurkingly.
Would it be possible for Core to be able to realize that someone has been staring at her? Because I do have, she used to be a travel blogger, and she used to go to places where it wasn't necessarily the best. They said it wasn't the best idea for a female to go there alone. She'd go there.
I was going to ask the same, because I think Angel, because she was behind the bar, would have recognized him potentially too.
Yeah. So this is first roll of the game, y'all. This is a big deal. So if the two of you, Angel and Core, would be so kind as to roll me your wits and awareness together, that would be spectacular.
And just to be completely sure here, it's a dice for each dot.
Correct.
Okay.
Four. One of them was a crit.
Okay.
Okay. So I can tell you the numbers that I got. What was the
So this is a great opportunity for us to talk about the actual system. So just like other V5 in World of Darkness, 6 and above is a success. If you get that 0, that's a crit. If you get 2 crits, you're going to double the number of successes for those 2 dice. So instead of it being 2 successes, it's 4.
Okay. Then I have 3 successes. One of them is a crit.
Excellent. So,
Samesies.
Angel, you clock him first.
Mm-hmm.
But you also know that you could take this guy if you needed to. You don't get the sense that he's dangerous, weird, maybe just not good at talking, weird. Core, you get the same inclination once you sort of notice him there. But you think he's interested in you. Like you. Not what you're doing, not the articles. I mean, you're used to it. You're a beautiful woman.
Core would put down the manuscript and would then move to a different part of the room, keeping him in her periphery and basically angling her body in a way that if she needs to, she has a number of things at her disposal that she carries with her, just in case.
Just in case.
Angel's going to take her old fashioned and walk over to the professor.
Okay.
Directly.
I would be completely unaware. I would have just watched with so much focus, Core putting down that manuscript and like just noticing whether it was like put down delicately or with what kind of care that was handled. Just waiting for the right opportunity to swoop in, just focusing on that.
You know,
it's
that if you look at someone that intently, you might as well buy them a drink.
I'm sorry. Say that again. No, I don't need a drink. I'm sorry. I've had plenty.
No,
of water.
I'm referring to the fact that you were looking very intently at the beautiful Core over there, and I think it's obvious there might be a little interest, but I'm saying if you are interested, how about I help you get her her favorite drink, and then you can go over and have an actual conversation instead of just
no.
being kind of creepy about it. Maybe
I was just queuing up. Pretty much, I wanted to get a look at the manuscripts that are over there. So,
from across the room, you're witnessing all of this. After all, it is your job to see the things that other people don't. What is Barry doing at this service?
Barry's doing what he's been doing all night. Keeping a low profile. Sitting in the corner. He found a table. He moved it probably to glares from both Angel and Core. And moved it to where he sat in a corner. He got one drink that's been sitting on the table so long that it's quit sweating. It's nothing but watered down whiskey at this point. He's also been approached several times by the waitstaff just to, are you sure you're in the right place? Because he does not look like he belongs at this wake. He looks like he walked in off the street. He's wearing flip-flops, raggedy shorts. Like they're not like falling apart, but they're not like they're not stylish in any way. Maybe he takes them down to the beach.
They're not your good funeral shorts.
Right. He didn't put on his good funeral shorts. Definitely not wearing the rainbows. And he's got a dirty white undershirt underneath a wrinkled Hawaiian shirt.
So you went to go sit in the corner.
Yeah.
But it was already taken. There's a man sitting in the corner booth wearing a gray suit, his head in his hands, gently sobbing. So you can't sit there, but you get the one next to it.
Oh, right. Yeah. I do not offer any consolation to this man. In fact, more so, I turn my head and get further away from him. Just not just distance, but like angling my body so I don't have to pretend like I notice his emotional distress.
At a funeral, how dare he?
Right. I mean, if you're going to show emotion, keep it in private.
Okay. That's one school of thought.
Yeah.
So as I told you all, the room is mostly cleared out. The 5 of you, including the man in the gray suit, are still there. And Perry is running around clearing off tables as people filter out the front door. There is a small table set up right by the entrance to the club that has a little, like a memorial book for Isaac. It's got his picture out, just so that no one mistakenly comes in here and thinks this is some sort of strange theme party. That was what you were really trying to avoid there. But it has the typical sentiments of gone too soon and, we miss you already. It's a very sweet show that's been put on for Isaac. And even though he wasn't particularly well known, he was apparently pretty well liked. Isaac had different connections to all of you. To Core, he was a really good PR opportunity, frankly. A chance to sort of stretch those party planning muscles and do some good. For
pro bono work.
Of course.
It's good to give back.
That's very sweet of you. But he died so strangely. No one really expected this event to have to be put together. He was a young man. I mean, he wasn't any older than you, Diego, but he was just gone. And his apartment burned down? That's not normal. It's Barry, you of all people know that accidents can happen, but even that seems strange to you. And as the 5 of you are just kind of taking in the somber mood and maybe trying to encourage a little bit of flirting, a woman steps across the threshold and into the room. And there's an immediate shift in the energy. Angel, you're very sensitive to such things. You always have been. Your grandmother had told you since you were a small child that it was just a gift that your family had. The figure that now fills up the doorway, it's a very tall woman, perhaps 6'2", with very lithe form. She has a large dark hoodie sort of pulled up. The hood is pulled all the way forward, which is very strange for Miami weather. You can see little strands of raven hair sort of poking out of the bottom. And the woman steps up to the memorial table and focuses very hard on the book of signatures, the book of well-intentioned notes that's there in front of her. Would any of you do anything?
Core definitely would. Seeing that Angel is talking to the guy that was seemed to be staring so incredibly hard at her, and trusting that Angel has that taken care of, would then go and move over to the latecomer. Once again, making sure that her earpiece is in case any of the other staff needs to connect with her. But she'd walk over to greet this person.
Angel, upon seeing this individual who definitely gave her vibes of some bad juju, she's gonna kind of turn to like where her eyes directly snap to the lady, and kind of like where she's trying to figure out the situation, but she turns her head back to the professor. Sorry about that. Again, if you want to take a look at it, since you indicated you're not interested in core,
I don't know who that is. I'm so sorry.
No. It's my misunderstanding. I'm sorry. Please share. Just
the food is delicious, by the way. It's really wonderful. Thank you. And then he's just gonna, like, not noticing anything else, I'm gonna pick up the manuscript that Core had put down.
And if you want to get a closer look at the wall, please be my guest. Oh. And then after saying that, she's gonna not approach where Core is with the person who just entered, but kind of going a little bit behind the bar area to kind of seem like she's like kind of refilling her glass, but she's really keeping an eye on everything that's going on.
Diego.
Yeah.
In true Diego fashion, you finally have this manuscript in your hand. You're finally alone to read it. You feel a tickle in the back of your throat.
I mean, I can't help myself. This is like what I've been waiting for. But I wonder if I noticed the way Angel invited me to have at the occult area. Is there something about that conveyed, like, that this is hers? Like, there's something about the way she said that I wonder if it caught me, like, oh, this is yours.
Would the professor pick up on that? I'm going to let you tell me if it's something that,
I would say,
that
like,
he would
because
notice.
She said share. So she's like, kind of like, yes, like, please, dear, do your thing. You know, she basically, it's the bayou to her is equivalent to her home. So she's basically making sure that he feels welcome, especially after misunderstanding the cue. She's like, have at it. As in, like, my home is your home. That would have been the vibe for sure.
Okay.
I think that for the professor, all of that would start to land, and before it's completely absorbed, it kind of bounces off and his attention just goes right back to the book, like almost a human thing connecting, and then it just bounces off and he just goes right to the book and starts opening it and looking through it.
That tracks. Angel, now that you don't have to worry about that particular situation and you see that Core has the new guest in hand and is taking care of that, you take note of Barry for the first time in the evening. He definitely doesn't make sense here. There's something that's not quite right beyond the flip-flops, which you find personally offensive in your middle oblonics. Core, you're approaching this figure that's just entered the room. What would you say to them?
Probably at a respectable personal bubble distance. She would. Oh, well, better late than never. Are you here for Isaac Meadows' memorial? If so, there's still a number of things that you can do to celebrate his life. I'm not certain if any other of his friends from his life are here, but I can discuss his teachings with you.
Yeah, I'm here to pay my respects. You can see the figure is trying very, very hard to hide their face from you. And it's almost like you jarred them awake and they realized that they were, in the middle of a funeral. And she'll sort of pick up the pen that's at that memorial table and hastily scribble something in the book. And then thank you. And she'll walk around you and over to one of the manuscripts that's laid out and just starts sort of flipping through it frantically.
Course going, well, Cora's really good at reading the room, sees that she's not needed in any way here and respects people's personal space with things. So she's actually probably going to then, keeping this person in sight, move back towards Angel, and then also where that the other guy who seems to be really pouring into the manuscript, and realizing that she probably didn't really get off on the right foot with this individual. He seems pretty clueless. She would then probably try to see if he needed anything.
Okay. Angel, you've just kind of picked up on this odd individual who is in your establishment, and almost seems like he got here by accident or something. What would you do as the owner of the Blue Bayou?
I would approach it. It's Barry that we're referring to, because there's
Correct.
a couple of strange individuals here.
There's a lot of weirdos. Barry's the one who you're like, ooh,
Yes.
he's sus.
Yeah. So especially with the particular ensemble. So she would approach, drink in hand. Bonjour, bonsoir. Is there anything you may need?
No, I'm all right.
How did you know the individual?
How is that really any of your business?
No. Fair enough. Fair enough. I just thought I'd come over and check in. Obviously, this is my establishment, so, it's my business to make sure that everyone is taken care of. And, well, in this case, I guess you can't say having a good time, can we?
No, that would be crass, I believe.
I think
I
you'd
am
be familiar
fine.
with that, actually.
You've done your duty.
Is there anything else that I can help you with? Because it seems like are you here for Isaac, or are you here for something else?
No, I'm here for Isaac. Look, you're being awfully nosy about somebody at a funeral. We all deal with grief in our own ways, and you're really all up in my space here, and I'd really rather just be left alone.
All right. Well, I'll leave you to your morning. Again, I was just trying to show a little Southern hospitality, but
Yeah, well,
nonetheless, have a good night. And then she's going to kind of pivot and still kind of keeping an eye. And she's going to pull out her cell phone to try to message Marcos, basically describing Barry and making sure that he let him in. He was supposed to actually come in with the party, the rest of the group.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to send that text message, no problem. And Marcos, being the good employee that he is, and one who cares about your general well-being, texts back immediately. Says, yeah, dude's weird, but he knew Isaac.
She texts back, interesting. Yeah, he seems like a real prick. Make sure to keep an eye on him. And then basically presses send. And then she kind of wanders around, just kind of trying to see what Perry's up to and if he's kind of gotten a hand on everything as far as cleaning up and everything's in order. But she's still kind of peeved at Barry's rudeness, especially because of the fact that she was just trying to be a good host, so to speak.
But Perry's got most of it under control. Again, there's only a handful of people left. He's really sticking around at this point to make sure that you have the support you need at the end of the night, and also to make sure that you aren't leaving alone, because that's just always a good idea. But he's, wiping down tables and putting up some of the chairs at this point, trying to give Barry the hint, really, that the place is shutting down. Darn, gotta go home. But he does. Perry walks over to the table where this very tall hooded woman has now been poring over the manuscript for a minute. And you're able to overhear just a little bit of their conversation where she seems to be asking him about the other guests who have attended this evening, if there was anyone strange. And Perry doesn't really know how to answer, so he's kind of mumbling to himself, and I gotta go back to the kitchen. I'm sorry, I'm still working, like trying to get away from that conversation. And his response is a little frantic and loud enough that the rest of you can actually hear it as well.
Cora's gonna take that moment then, because she has gone back over to where the individual that was staring at her so hard before is, and now is staring at the manuscript. She's kind of just going to do a pop over his shoulder like, hello. The one that you're reading is absolutely one of my favorites of Isaac's. You knew him well. I'm Cor.
That's to me, right?
Yes.
I immediately jump, and the presence of someone in like such close proximity, and now that I've had multiple individuals coming up to me and talking to me, you notice that like the professor kind of instinctively reaches into his pocket and pops out a lozenge and unwraps it really quickly and pops it in his mouth and starts to like just suck on it nervously. Well, yes. Actually, I'm not as familiar with this one. I have. Isaac did allow me some access to some of his books, but not all of them. And so I was hoping that maybe something made its way here. How did these books end up here anyway? I'm surprised that they're even here in the first place. Are you you're familiar with this? Have you read this?
I've read most of what's here. I wanted to really give it a spirit of occasion of, a very hearty slice of.
I'm sorry. And you see him kind of like stiffen up as he hears the woman that's walked in frantically looking through the books. The professor does not read people very well, but he knows when pages of a book are being frantically abused as they're being flipped through. Very quickly and perhaps aggressively, and you just see him like whip his head over and beeline and ask, "Are you okay?" But he's talking to the book and not the woman.
Give that back. I was looking at that.
What's
your problem, dude?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was noticing you should really handle these books with more care. And they're very valuable. So if
she's going to grab you by the collar, by your shirt. Get the fuck out of my face. Push you backwards a little.
Angel's gonna approach. Do we have a problem here? Again, I don't exactly know what, and she's kind of looking between the professor and this individual looking up. I don't really know what's going on, but given, obviously,
there's no problem. I'm in fucking mourning. Can't you see that? Just leave me alone.
Immediately, I go back to Core.
I understand, but when someone is handling another person in my establishment in the manner that you were, then it becomes my business. I'm sorry.
Stay out of my way, and we won't have a problem.
As long as there's no more placing of hands on any of the other guests tonight.
Midway through that statement, it's as if you completely lost her interest, and her head whips around toward the corner booth, the corner table, where that man in the gray suit is still sobbing into his hands. Barry, you're close enough. The noise has changed. What had been the soft coos of a man crying, a man emotional, pulling himself together, seems to have shifted ever so slightly into an almost chuckle that starts to grow and reverberate into a deep belly laugh from the man in the corner, who suddenly slams down his hands on that table. The figure standing in front of you, Angel, focuses 100% on that sound and turns, almost growing in size in that moment, and sprints towards the man in the corner, who lifts his head, his features somehow sharper, elongated. But you only have half a second to absorb it as he moves too quickly, impossibly quickly, around the table to face head on this feral creature that is now barreling towards him from across your venue, Angel. You all have the opportunity to take one action very quickly. Barry, what would you like to do?
Well, after his gruff persona, when this actually goes down, Barry lets out a yelp that is, I mean, you would know that it's not uncharacteristic, or that whether it is characteristic or not, but based on what he presented there, it is uncharacteristic, and he's going to flip the table that he's been sitting at and cower behind it.
Cool. Roll me. Man, I can't call this a brawl roll, can I? Because you're doing the cowardly thing. So we'll go with strength and athletics to flip this table.
Oh.
It's also fair to say, hey, Angel, would you have the tables bolted down, or is this not that kind of place?
This is not that kind of place, because this does not happen at all. She doesn't let that happen at all.
All right.
Yeah.
So not bolted down.
No.
So yeah. Roll me strength and athletics, Barry. What'd you get?
One success.
You successfully really hurt your hand as you go to flip this table, forgetting that the entire bottom half of it is old New Orleans style wrought iron and is therefore extraordinarily heavy. So you kind of like move the table a little and then just crouch down behind it. But it'll work. It'll work in a flash. Like, no one's watching you. It's fine. There's no one here anyway. Angel, what would you like to do?
Okay, she's going to first yell out Marcos, and then she's going to say to the individuals, because she's kind of freaked out, but at the same time she's trying to still like pretend that she's like, I'm still the boss of this establishment. I don't know what the hell is going on, but you need to take it outside. That's all she says.
I will remind you that Marcos went home for the evening. So Marcos is not here right now.
She probably knows that, but she's just like trying to act like she's calling for help when she knows she doesn't have anybody to help her. So she's basically just trying to, again, pretend that she's got it together, but she's actually inside freaking out. Like her hands are actually shaking.
Roll me charisma and persuasion, I think, is the appropriate combination here.
Fantastic. You said charisma and persuasion.
And persuasion.
Awesome. All right. So that is 5 successes.
Wonderful. We'll get to what that does here in just a second. Okay. Diego.
There's no way in hell this guy is brave, so he's immediately dropping. He's like, I mean, I know I went. I go back to Core because at least I know Core was nice to me, and I'm like flustered. And as I'm walking back, I am like shocked that someone would come at me that way. And then once I start to hear the crashing and all that stuff going on, I turn around and see fighting breaking out, and I would immediately like fall back and onto the ground. And I'm just looking around wondering what's going on. Like, this is not, no one five dive. I don't know the last time I've seen a fight. So this is out of the ordinary for me. And
you probably read about one very recently.
I mean, probably like, yeah, definitely. And you know, the having it happen in front of your face, especially when one of the participants just grabbed you and was practically on the verge of violence towards you, it's like he's looking for like, how do I get out of here? And just like kind of scrambling on the ground, almost heart racing, already sweating.
Okay.
Sweating through his pits like crazy.
I'm not going to have you roll to panic because I think that
I'm already panicking.
No matter what. Yeah. Core.
So Core has witnessed Barry trying to flip a table, Angel yelling, the guy that very rudely turned away from her now came back and has fallen in front of her, and something is going on over in the corner and she can't really tell what's going on. It's happening so fast. Like I said before, she was a travel blogger in corners of the world where things like this happened all the time. She reaches into her black holographic fanny pack, which is also an emergency kit for planning events, pulls out a collapsible baton, whisks that open while she leaps over Diego. Just in front of Diego, because she doesn't want that floor obstruction in front of her if she needs to move. So she hops over him because he's in her way.
Wonderful. Spectacular. I love it. I'm not going to make you roll because the way that this looks in my brain is very much like Diego has turned himself into a pancake and is hoping no one notices him. That is what is in my head. So it's really easy for you to just hop over him and be like, oh my God. Angel, when you yelled, the figure before you, again, seemingly growing in size as the moments tick by, turns to face you for half a second. And all of you can see this. The face before you is no longer fully human. It has a slightly elongated snout. Its eyes have narrowed and widened to that of a predator with zeroed in focus. The cheekbones have become more angular. The neck is elongated, the jaw more muscular. What you're seeing before you is not fully human, not fully animal, but all danger. And as the creature turns back to face the figure in the corner, their body seems to crunch and change in a way that you've never seen before. It's grotesque, but you can't look away. Their back widens, and you can see even through the hoodie that they're wearing, the muscles sort of bulge and contract. The limbs almost elongate, and where there were once well-manicured fingertips, you now see the sort of jagged claws extending from the edges of her hands. She's taken a half-crouched stance that looks more wolf than human. There's something very predatory about these movements, but this is impossible. No one can do that. Nothing can do that. And the creature turns to face and continues to stalk towards this man in the corner, paying no attention to any of you as you either cower or turn to face them. The man in the corner, now fully upright in front of the table, having moved too quickly to comprehend, now stands there with a smile upon his face. Cor, you recognize him. He's a former employee, one who died 4 years ago. And there's something rotten about him now. His skin is pale and sickly, almost papery and dry. His lips chapped. His snarl, inhuman. The only thing that seems alive are his eyes, which could very well be a flame for all the life in them. And he turns to face this beast with all the recognition of an old friend, and then cocks his head to Perry and says, "Slow her down." Perry instantaneously drops the tray of dishes he'd been holding on to and steps willingly between this beast and the man in the gray suit. And the sound of flesh being torn from bone, the sound of death, silences everything else in this building. Angel, you hear Perry's bones snap. You hear as his innards spill out, hit the floor. He doesn't scream. He doesn't shriek. He's just gone in an instant. And every bit as quickly, the man who commanded him to give up his life so easily steps into a shadow and disappears. And then a lot of things happen at once. We're going to go to Angel. And I'm going to ask that my other players take out their headphones or mute Zoom for the time being. Angel. This moment seems to extend forever. Time slows down. What felt safe, this place felt safe, now feels hostile and alien. And as you're confronted with these realities that could not possibly be real, you're reminded of your grandmother. She helped make you the woman you are. She would often talk about keeping the evil away. She'd talk about chupacabras, and she spoke a lot about ghosts and spirits. She told a lot of stories. And up until now, they were just that. Embellished stories designed to keep you in your bed at night and keep you on the right path. But now, witnessing this, it all starts making sense. You remember the promise that your grandmother had you make on her deathbed. What did she make you promise?
During those last moments with her, it seemed like before, when she was struggling with her dementia, she was just talking in circles sometimes, but it was almost like she was back to her normal self. She reached out and held my hand. She said, "Child, don't let your gifts go to waste. You have been given a blessing, a gift, an ability to help those who can't help themselves. Remember what I told you, Jeremiah 29:11. Promise me you will live out your purpose." And I told her I would. I'd do it
and
for her.
before now, that purpose had meant something different. What does Angel feel watching Perry, an employee who she's mentored? I mean, a lot of places say that they are a family, but that's truly the way of things in the Blue Bayou. What's going on in Angel's head right now, witnessing Perry's demise?
In that moment, the drink that she was holding, it was almost like just everything seized up, and the glass would have shattered to the floor. And almost like instinctively, she kind of closes her hands to her chest, because it's taking her back to those moments with her grandmother. And she's remembering all these different things that her grandmother used to talk to her about: people with bad juju, rugaru, all of these different things that she thought was just superstition, just folklore from Louisiana. And it's almost like it's replaying in her head, and she's kind of trying to figure out how to deal with something that she thought that she had kind of handled, as far as her grief, as far as a little bit of that confusion of trying to understand what exactly the gift meant that her grandmother was telling her to fulfill this and to help others. She didn't really understand it, but also to seeing yet another person in her life being torn from her. And even though he may not have been like the closest, because she usually tries to keep people sometimes at bay, it was still, like you said, a family member in a way. So she's kind of basically, her whole body's trembling, and she's trying to compose herself, but her breathing is labored, and she's almost like she's trying to hold her hands, trying to find some type of calm in the chaos, but can't quite get there yet.
And as all of these realizations are kind of hitting you, just washing over you, you know now your promise. You promised your grandmother that you would do what you were meant to do. And with everything, every bit of knowledge she passed on to you, every story she ever told you, this was what she was preparing you for, whether you realize it or not. You have to uphold that promise to her. And even though you're panicking, and even though this is probably the most terrified you have ever been, something clicks into place for you. And now we're going to switch over to the professor. Professor, Diego has studied for decades. Diego thought that he had the knowledge that he needed to survive in this world and maybe understand others. That is, after all, what he has built his entire career off of. And as Diego, hands over his head, face down on the floor of the Blue Bayou, hears the snapping of muscle and the unmistakable sounds of flesh on the wood floor. He's not thinking about his studies. He's not thinking about his life even as he's here. He's thinking about a conversation that took place earlier today in his office at the University of Miami. The dean had stood before him, red in the face. Diego, you can't go down the same path as Isaac. You can't lose yourself to these studies. It's insane. If you don't get your shit together, you're going to be canned and out on your ass, just like he is. Your academic career is over.
You don't understand that there's value in this. This is a worthy contribution to our body of knowledge. I implore you,
Diego,
to please.
Shut up. We pay you to teach all of those students about history, not trivia, not literature. We pay you to teach them history. What you do in your free time is entirely up to you. I can't fire you for that, apparently. But you're not going to bring it into this building, this school. Do you understand me? Or you're fucking out.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And while you replay that conversation, you imagine how it could have ended differently. If you weren't so cowardly, if you weren't so weak, if you weren't face down on this dirty bar floor, what if you had that kind of strength? What if you could literally rip apart the obstacles in your path? With a mind like yours, you'd be unstoppable.
Ooh.
How does it feel as that spark of possibility washes over Diego in this moment?
It's almost as if time slows down and the adrenaline and the fear that's pumping through me and causing me to like shake and want to hide. There's something about a grunt that I hear, and the tearing of flesh and the spilling of the bowels on the ground, just something about the plop that feels definitive. I feel on the ground, you feel it almost vibrating, reverberating as I'm like on the ground shaking. And he takes it, probably the fullest breath he's taken all night as he's been here anxious and breathing shallowly. And he understands something a little bit differently. Power. And he looks up, the fear kind of melting away, and he sees this figure in a frenzy, having a kind of ownership, a kind of strength. And he just utters the words, they just fall out of his mouth. I want that. And he stays transfixed.
And in that shift, a spark of envy ignites deep inside of you, pushing you in a way that you hadn't been motivated since you were an undergraduate student. And it's all consuming. It has you now. And with that, we'll switch over to Barry. Barry. You've probably witnessed murders before. I mean, after all, you work for a security company. You caught all kinds of stuff on camera, shootings, break-ins. It's all run of the mill for you. But that's behind the safety of a screen. It's different to witness it up close and personal. And you don't so much mind the sounds, the textures that you're hearing in this moment. You know Perry's gone. But crouched behind your table, the piece that has you transfixed is the man in the gray suit. How can any being simply command someone else to do that, to put themselves in harm's way and have them do it? You recently got fired, correct?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't really a thing that it wasn't my fault. It was just a, unfortunate finding out of things.
Well, I mean, I suppose when your entire side hustle is selling information to petty crooks so they can go rob people in the houses whose security systems you've installed, it's only a matter of time before you get caught by someone.
Well, not if you're as careful as I am, but, things happen.
You weren't careful enough. How many people do you think Isaac told about you? Do you think that's how they found you?
Well, I don't think he wouldn't tell. I just need to make sure that he didn't leave any.
I don't know. Isaac was a talkative guy.
Right, but nobody listened to Isaac. He was just everybody said he wasn't all there, and nobody wanted to pay attention to what he was actually saying.
You saw how many people were here tonight. You know what?
Surely not. I need to find out where he put the stuff and make sure it was all destroyed properly.
If you could just command people and have them do what you wanted.
I mean, that's some real power right there. I mean, I've been kicked around all my life, just trying to do what's best for Barry, and never seems to work out for me. There's always somebody that's got a little bit of on Barry.
Look, if you're going to sell information to petty criminals, you have to expect to get beaten up every once in a while. But wouldn't it be something if you could just tell them to fuck off and they would do it?
For once, just once. If I had the power instead of just the crumbs that the people in power let me get, I could command people.
You know who has the power? That guy.
That guy.
Well,
that guy has some power.
He's moving too fast to just be a guy. There's got to be something more there. Something that gives him those abilities.
That's not natural.
He's moving too fast. But whatever he has, you want it.
I want it. I need that power.
And even though you are gripped by fear, the world being tilted on its axis and changing forever doesn't matter, because it led you to this discovery.
It was all worth it.
Power.
If I could get that power.
And inside you, like a vice on your very soul, envy takes hold of who and what you are. And you're now driven with the sole intent of possessing that power. You watch as the man sort of steps into the shadow and fades from view. That power. And lastly, we'll step over to Core. Core, you've been successful in this business for a while now. You are a known quantity. You are the go-to person for event planning. You handle a lot. Yes. You handle a lot of different things for a lot of different people, and each event is really very unique in its own way. But there's one client who has always had some special requests when it comes to their parties. Your first client, in fact, the one that helped you make your break. After all, they got you that cover magazine article, and they got you on the local news, and continued to recommend you to everyone they knew. The Miami City Ballet puts on one event a month. It's always a big affair. Guest list is always the same. They've always requested no more than 3 staff of yours be present at the events, and never you. Standing before you is one of your former employees. He attended one of these events some years ago, back when you were still growing, and was found dead the next morning in an alley. It was strange. The police couldn't really tell you what happened to him. They said he'd been exsanguinated, but that doesn't make any sense. That's not a thing that happens to people. And he was dead. But now Toby stands before you, looking wrong. And pieces start to fall into place for you. After these parties that the Miami Ballet would throw, your employees would call out sick the next day or simply no call, no show if they'd been working that event. It was a pretty consistent happening. You assumed it was just something that they did. They partied too hard, allowed the staff to drink. There are a million different reasons why it could continually happen. And, your contacts at the Miami Ballet continued to tell you that they were just fabulous parties, and really they wanted the help to have fun as well and partake in the festivities being offered. You found that wording a little odd at the time because you'd never set up any kind of entertainment for these events, merely the catering and the drink staff and all of that. But you let it slide. And after parsing through some of Isaac's manuscripts and now standing facing a man you knew to be dead, in fact, you threw a memorial similar to this for Toby. It's all wrong. And you helped make it wrong. You know in your heart of hearts that you are the reason that he is standing there. Inhuman. A beast. A monster. Cackling in the face of certain death. You watched him command a man to sacrifice his body and then disappear in the shadows. How many other staff, I wonder, did you lead to the same fate? How many people in attendance at those parties never made it home that night? But it's okay, they made you famous. They got you your business. They made you. Your empire is built on the corpses that you laid in front of them. How does that feel, Cor?
One can't be completely sure. Why would that even come into anybody's? That's not a mainstream thought that people have. People call out sick. People decide not to go to work the next day. And there are a lot of accidents. I'm a good person and I run a good business and I work very, very hard. So
is that what you're going to tell Toby? Is that what you told his wife and his daughter at his memorial?
No. No. That isn't something. There aren't really excuses, are there? Not really. I didn't know for sure, but it's very obvious now. It's not what I told them. It's not what I told any of them, any of their family, any of their friends when they called to check in on the last known place that they were. I'm trying to do better.
Well, you've just been handed a golden opportunity to correct your mistakes. That's not something many people get. You stand there facing Toby. And the one blessing in this situation is that he doesn't really seem to recognize you in this state. bloodshot eyes, narrowed, dilated, focused.
I've got to ease this torment. No one could be happy like this, not being this thing that's happening right now, and especially something that might hurt other people. I'm going to attack. I'm going to fix this, properly lay him to rest if I can. Just like I said to his wife and his daughter. But he was at peace now.
And it's that moment that reverberates in your skull as this sickening wave of realization passes over you. And all you can think is, how do I make this better? How do I atone for this sin? And even though you'd think that realization would hit you like 1,000 tons of water, like a tsunami, all it does is strengthen your resolve as you grip your baton even harder, while Toby disappears into shadow. We'll go back to the whole group now. Perry is torn to shreds. The figure assaulting him pushes what's left of him aside. With a meaty thud, it hits the floor. And if your eyes had been on the man in the gray suit, you would have seen him all but disappear. Hearing a swish of fabric just outside in the foyer of the Blue Bayou. The figure in the hoodie whirls towards the entrance. And if there had been even a shred of doubt as to what you were seeing, the woman now stands double the width that she'd taken up when she got here. Her jaw elongated and covered in a coarse gray fur. Her eyes a deep yellow now, looking past you, through you, towards its prey. You all will be able to take one action as this creature barrels towards the front door. Let's start with Core.
Core has been confronted with a number of truths and is not feeling great about herself. She looks behind her at the man on the floor, extends a hand to him, grips him by the arm to pull him up as her action as she looks towards the door.
Okay. Diego. The woman who'd been nice to you is extending an arm to you.
I I imagine that I'm like transfixed watching this creature of immense power leave, and then like right in front of my face I see a hand, and I follow the hand all up the arm and up to the face of the person who's offering me, the one person that was nice to me today, the nicest so far. I take the hand and I let her help me up, and I say to her, "Did you see that?"
I saw more than I wanted to.
That was incredible.
It was
Angel.
horrific.
Angel.
My question is, during that time, I'm pretty sure certain things would kind of click as far as the stories, or at least things that, you know, she remembers from like what she thought were just just folklore from where her grandmother's from. I feel like she would connect this certain creature with the legend of Rogaru.
I think that's probably a fair assessment. Your grandmother was a very knowledgeable woman in this particular regard.
Angel's going to near, because she's closest to the entrance, but also to the bar is at the actual entrance as well. She's going to try to go over to to jet over to the bar area and try to grab whatever she thinks is silver.
Okay. I'm going to have you roll me wits and investigation.
Okay. I got a crit. That's one.
So just one?
One, yeah.
You're able to kind of lean over to the bar to where, again, more of Isaac's mementos have been sort of laid out. It's almost comical now that you considered some of his manuscripts occult at this point. But what you do have on the counter is a framed picture of Isaac from when he first started teaching, something Core had brought by. You're able to get a hold of that, and you can throw it if you so choose.
No, Angel in this moment, because of the fact that all these things are clicking, but at the same time, she's still overwhelmed. She's going to hold it like it's a weapon. So it's not really like the coolest thing, like when Core was like, did her thing earlier in front of Diego. Instead, she's going to just kind of like where she's bracing herself, and not even like a full fist, but just like she's putting the frame in front of her, just in her mind to scare this creature, which she knows that that's probably not the case, but maybe it'll keep it at bay.
Okay. You stand there, this picture frame extended in front of you, ready for action.
Yeah,
as all the stories just start to make sense, and you're like, oh, Barry.
Yes.
What would you like to do?
Barry is torn. His innate nature, his deep-seated nature wants him to take a heavy sit down and grab that drink that has been sitting there the entire night and just down it. But his curiosity is now piqued. And so he wants to overcome that just a little bit. Storyteller, do we have access to our edges at this point?
Tell me what you'd like to try and do, and then we can talk about it.
I would like to try and snap a picture of this thing as it leaves using my little eye in the sky.
You brought your drone to a fucking funeral?
Well, I'd never leave it at home. What would be the point of having it if I left it at home?
You brought your drone.
I left it
to
outside.
A funeral.
TMZ.
It's up on the roof. Like, I didn't bring it in. I'm not that ignorant.
You better have no dots in etiquette or I'm going to beat the crap out of you.
Yeah,
yes, nope. You absolutely can. Since this is our first introduction to these edges, we were going to talk about them a little more next week. Why don't you tell me what Eye in the Sky does?
Well, it is, it's actually part of my drone jockey edge. And it's got 2 skills and I can use them.
Mechanically, how does this function?
Mechanically, I roll wits and technology for control of the drone or intelligence and craft to repair or rebuild it.
Okay. So we're going to introduce another new mechanic in this process because, frankly, I didn't expect you to do this so quickly. So I'm going to do a lot of kind of comparing between vampire and hunter because I think it's important to understand how they're different. You've heard me call out dice pools. This is another dice pool system. It's super great. I love it. However, there are 2 things that function for the entire cell that can either add to your dice pool or they can make things more difficult. And those things are desperation and danger. Currently, we are at 1 desperation because y'all just woke your drives up. They're brand new, which means that at any point in time, if anyone here wants to carry out an action that is within their specific creed, they can add that desperation dice, however many we have. It'll range 1 through 5 at any given point in the story. They can add that 1 dice to their pool to maybe succeed a little better. If they fail, it's worse. The secondary piece of this is the danger track, which again goes 1 through 5. That's something that's more going to be on my end. You as the storyteller have the option of keeping the danger level to yourself. For the purposes of this story, I thought it would be really fun to share with you all, the audience, exactly how deep these guys have gotten themselves into it. And now, with an angry Garou leaving the premises, we're going to be at 1 danger. Justus, if you would like to roll your wits and technology for your drone, this does fall within your particular character boundary. So you are able to add that desperation dice if you so choose.
What are the downsides of that?
Well, so a failure on a desperation die is going to automatically increase the amount of danger. It's also, hold on, let me check my notes and make sure that's right, and I'm not just lying to you. Yes. So when you fail on a desperation die, you are overreaching, which automatically increases the danger by 1. If you have 2 or more failures on your desperation dice, your character is in despair, which means you cannot call upon your drive to use the desperation dice until you redeem yourself.
All right.
So,
well,
yeah, each different drive has a different way to redeem themselves and thereby regain access to that desperation dice pool.
Okay. I am not going to take that risk at this moment. I just feel like it's just not worth it. Plus, I'm really good at this.
So you're a coward, just like Barry. I get it. It's fine.
Yeah. So Barry's gonna sit down and reach for the glass that was sitting there, but then instead reach into his pocket and pull out his phone, almost like he's in a daze, and beep boop up his drone. That's 5 successes, 1 crit.
Okay. You beep boop up your drone. Does your drone have a name? The correct answer is yes.
The correct answer is yes. You're welcome, chat. I'm gonna name the drone Baby Shark.
All right.
Because I'm Barry Sark, and that's Baby Shark. And,
all right. Okay. I asked. I guess I can't be too upset about it. You call upon Baby Shark to perform this action as they have 1,000 times before. You and Baby Shark have been through a lot. Baby Shark helped you get some blackmail on a couple government officials. Baby Shark has helped you find out an ex-girlfriend was cheating. That was helpful too. Just really cut that one off at the knees. Baby Shark's reliable. And you get the sense with your beep booping around that Baby Shark was able to capture a photo. And with that, it's just the 4 of you. The guru, still with this beast, still with claws extended, sort of rips itself out of the foyer of the Blue Bayou, leaving claw marks on the walls, overturned tables in its wake. And of course, what is left of Perry spread around in between the bar and the front of the Blue Bayou. And they're gone. It's just the 4 of you now. And it feels very strange that all of that happened in just a few seconds. The entire world changed in just a few seconds.
Or realizes that, well, I realize I'm still holding on to this man that I still don't even know the name of, that I helped up from the floor. Tries to release him.
I'm still holding on. And I'm asking, did you see how incredible that was?
I saw what just happened. And if you mean incredible in like the not positive sense, but the awesome sense, I'm filled with awe.
You said that you're familiar with his books, right? With Isaac's books, with the books that are here.
Yes.
There's got to be something about what we just saw. I'm remembering some of the stuff that if we're going to use edges and perks, I'm going to research the shit out of this already. If there's books in front of me, I'm going to start studying.
I will say that Angel, while that's happening, she's muttering, so you hear her, 13, I need 13, I need 13. And she's going to the register, and she's like frantically trying to basically input the code to the register at the bar to grab 13 pennies, because of the fact that she heard that if you basically at any entryway, if you have 13 pennies, it will ward away a guru. So she's like basically just now she's trying to desperately remember different things. So you just hear her 13, and she's like just going through the register at the moment to try to basically go to where the entrance is to basically block everything off while this is happening.
Hearing what the man that she still does not know his name was saying, she would literally point to one of the manuscripts that she had pulled for this that even remotely pertains to this situation. She's pointing to that for, as to this point, unnamed dude, while she's finally looking at the other person in the room. She doesn't know it's Barry, but she's finally looking at him as she's pointing to the manuscript, and she looks straight at him and goes, "Hello, did you just see that too?"
Yeah, I think so.
Are we allowed to curse?
Well, I have been, so I hope so.
Wasn't that completely fucked?
That's certainly one way to put it.
Angel, as you bend to put down the 13 pennies, your cell phone pops out of your pocket and slides a few inches across the floor. The screen is lit up, and a message from Marcos, followed by several missed calls, simply says, "Police are on the way." And I think that's a good spot for us to call it tonight.
Oh.
That was so much.
Angel's losing it. She's losing it.
Look, all of you did spectacularly, but if Markeia sees me after this and doesn't punch me in the face for what I said to her in our one-on-one, I'll be shocked.
I can tell something was affecting her. I was like, oh, I want to know what's happening.
It was a lot. So, hey guys, thanks so much for joining us for our first installment of Hunter. You saw these 4 awaken their drives tonight. Congratulations. Mazel tov and all that. This is your rite of passage. When we come back next week, we'll take a look at how this newly formed, I don't know, you guys are a group now. What should we call you? Maybe a cell? This newly formed cell of vampire or of hunters is going to address the situation that they find themselves in with a literally shredded corpse in a very public place and the very human authorities on their way to take a look.
We're doing great. We're doing
so far,
great,
so
guys.
good. So far, so good. I will remind everybody that we're still learning the rules. I'm going to try and explain them as best as I can as we go through this so that you guys know what you're going to be getting into with your own hunter stories. But I am also completely fallible. So please defer to the experts who I'm hoping are in chat and telling people what I did wrong right now, because I'm sure that that's the case. But join us next week to see more of this particular story and maybe witness some more of those edges being used. Some of those perks might come into play. And who knows, further down the line, we might meet an orc or two. That'd be cool. That wouldn't be cool. They won't enjoy that at all. But thank you guys so much for showing up for our premiere episode of The Day Shift, set here in Miami, a Hunter the Reckoning story. Before we close it out tonight, I do want to say super big thank you to Katie, our producer for this show. Thank you for being an absolute boss and for rolling with the punches on this one, especially with those one-on-ones. I know I threw that to you kind of late, so I appreciate that. But let's go around and meet our wonderful cast and hear what else they have going on. We'll go in reverse order this time. Markeia, where can people find you?
Yeah, I am found at Markeia McCarty. That's MarkeiaMcCarty. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and just about anybody. You know what? Put Markeia into whatever social media that you're doing and you'll find me. Twitch, I'm Darth Markeia. Facebook is Markeia TV, but it's always Markeia. So yeah, there's that. As for other things, I will be part of Damsel's Dice and Everything Nice. That'll be happening on Saturdays as one of their princesses. What constitutes a princess? My character will reinstitutionalize what constitutes a Disney princess. So, I mean, that's how I live. So,
can you say, or you can't say yet?
I can't say just yet, but yeah, just this won't be a princess that you'll find on a mug, but still is a Disney princess. So
my vote is 5.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Love it. But yeah, otherwise than that, this Saturday I have it's gonna be my first live comedy stand-up thing that I'm doing since 2019. So yeah, it'll be Tournament of Nerds. It's a thing out of UCB, but it'll be at Dynasty Typewriter. Go ahead and check my social media for that on Twitter. But I will be Black Panther going up against other comedians dressed as other things, like Smokey the Bear, or like members from other well-established TV stuff that you know, and there will be judges. It is very fun and fluid and awesome. And I'll have the ticket link up, but that'll be happening this Saturday at 10 p.m. Pacific. Live streamed in LA and also live streamed.
That's so cool. These talented people.
So cool.
Speaking of talented, Luis, what about you?
Oh, I forgot the order already. Hi. You can find me.
There's literally only 4 of us. Like this.
I was like, what was that order? Was it? You can find me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, even just my name, Luis Carazo. I'm one of the only ones that pop up. Apparently, that's not a very common last name. So LuisCarazo. I always have some commercials that are running, which is good because it funds my life. So if you pay attention to commercials, you might see me in something pop in. And a couple TV shows that are somewhat recent, SWAT, NCIS, that you can look up if you wanted to watch some of that. And I'm on the new Exandria Unlimited Calamity miniseries for Critical Role. That's going to be premiering next Thursday. So you can watch us here and then watch that one the day after and see what that's about. Yeah, that's what I have going on right now.
I love it. I'm sure it'll be the same vibe between this and Exandria Calamity.
Yeah, Calamity. What could it be? It's got to be fun and happy, I'm sure.
Brianna, what about you?
Hi guys, I'm Brianna, but I am a cosplayer, so I go by my cosplay handle on social medias, and it's Utahime, Utahime, and that is a Japanese word, by the way. You can find me at Utahime Cosplay on Facebook, Instagram, here on Twitch, where I hope to get back to streaming on my own channel. I'm on everyone else's but my own lately, but hopefully soon. And recently I made a TikTok, so if you want to follow me and my shenanigans, please feel free to follow there. And I'm at Briana DeCoster on Twitter. And I'm up to various tabletop shenanigans. Next Tuesday, you can find me over on the Red Hair Inn, where I'm a part of a long campaign, the Ecrium Expeditions. I play a half sea elf, half halfling, sea flame. So try to figure that out in your head. She is my sweet little country cinnamon roll. She's a joy to play. So definitely check that out at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And then catch us over here, 6:30 Pacific time on Wednesday. And then we will be back shortly over in the initiative order for the Alien TTRPG mini campaign, No Turning Back, which has been so much fun to play. I play a 14-year-old up to shenanigans, a stowaway on that one. So definitely check it out to see how I get that crew killed, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to. That's 6 p.m. Pacific time over on the initiative order on Fridays. But other than that, there's going to be some more announcements to come. But yes, this has been absolutely amazing, and I'm really terrified for what's going to happen next week. But thank you guys for tuning in.
Wonderful. Excellent. Spectacular. Last but certainly not least, Justus.
It's a hard J. Justus.
Justus?
Yep. Justus.
I'll learn like after 4 or 5 years of marriage.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I am Justus. You can find me on the socials as Stashmandu. I'm more active on Twitter lately, but if you want to just see a bunch of old pictures of my mustache, you can find me on Instagram. Just lots of pictures of my face. That's just what I do. I got a few things. Gehenna Gaming, I'm doing a V5 game over there. It's pre-recorded right now, so I don't actually know when it's going to be aired, but I play a truly, truly terrible Ventru, and I'm living for it. It's absolutely wonderful.
Beat would be proud. He'd be very proud.
Yeah. He's just wonderfully terrible. And then next Friday for somebody's birthday, we're doing some Call of Cthulhu. And then I don't know. I'll let her talk more about that. And then on Mondays, you can find me on Nat One Fun's channel doing a little bit of improv. We just make up a story for an hour, and it's a lot of fun. Silly.
Cool. And I'm Diana DiMicco. I've been your storyteller this evening. So really the only other thing that I have to talk about at this precise moment, I guess, is next Friday is my birthday. And in true Diana fashion, I'll be running a Call of Cthulhu one-shot, probably on the Gehenna Gaming channel. We haven't quite worked that out yet. But we'll be benefiting Trans Lifeline. As with all of my charity games, you all donate to determine what terrible things I do to the players. Justus is going to be in that game. We also have Joe Johnson. We have Art and Audio. We've got the Noir Enigma. And that's the whole crew, right? Is that everybody? Oh, and Trevor. We got Trevor too. So it's going to be a really good group. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm super excited to do that and celebrate my birthday by giving back and doing a fun game with fun people and those that I love. You can really find me here because immediately after we finish up this 100 campaign, we'll be right back into the nightlife for season 2. We ended with a lot of diablerie in season 1, so that'll be interesting to pick back up. And I'm working on a couple of games in a couple different formats that are going to be published later this year. So keep an eye on my Twitter at DiMicco Diana for those things too. I think that's it for announcements, you guys. I think we did it. Episode 1 done. We did it. We will see you guys next week for installment 2 of The Day Shift. Everybody have a good night.